let me assure you, as the door closed behind me, I felt a flare of embarrassment. I was just treated like a total fool, I thought. I had half a mind to turn around and tell Eustace to stuff her sentimental stories about Catherine and show me the sword under lock and key. I didn't, of course. And thank goodness for that, honestly. No, I won't explain what I mean just yet. Let me tell you something about that chronicler position. It might have taken a fair bit, but it did teach me a thing or two about spinning a good story. Anyway. The cool air of the hallway hit my face hard after being in the stuffy library for so long. I could feel the damp patches around my eyes and cheeks where my tears had been drying. I wiped my face with my sleeve to try and erase any lingering evidence. Oh, fancy running into you here. Moira was standing just down the hall, carrying a tray adorned with a small pitcher and some sliced rye. I was just on my way to bring you and Eustace some luncheon. Nuncheon? Oh, of course, you wouldn't have heard of that before. It's just a snack between meals. Is that allowed? Allowed? Of course. Why wouldn't it be? I looked side to side nervously. For what? I'm not really sure. Disapproving superior? Or worse, Angela? Moira chuckled again and set the tray down on the stone railing, overlooking the cloister, and then gestured for me to join her. The little pitcher was full of wine, and there were pieces of crumbly cheese mixed in with the slices of bread. You can dip the bread in the wine if you like. Dip the... all right. I picked up a piece of bread and dunked it into the pitcher. The wine turned a quite an odd color that reminded me a bit of bile on flagstone, but I resisted lingering on it too long and popped it into my mouth. That's quite nice, actually. It's called sops. Everyone here loves it, more or less. And the cheese? Goat cheese. It's from one of the ones Darcy takes care of. I tried a piece. It was also delicious. This might be a silly question. All this food, is it different from what I was served? I took all my meals in my cell, but I don't remember any of it tasting quite this, well, good. Well, we do a lot of cooking with ingredients from the stores and the pantry, and we have to make things last. Maybe you just got unlucky most of the time? Things don't always taste this fresh. Or maybe, well... Oh, nothing. I was just thinking that maybe it tastes so much better because you're not in your cell anymore? I don't understand. Moira took a piece of cheese and chewed it thoughtfully. How does one thoughtfully chew cheese? You guys ever have that squeaky cheese? I imagine she's just like, pondering something and her cheeks are just like... A new lease on life and all that. Nothing tastes better than freedom. My first instinct was to chide Moira for this comment, but I resisted. Instead, I chose to act the part and say something I imagined someone who belonged in this group of women might say. I would imagine Catherine disagrees that we're free up here. And I suppose by that logic, eating outside the monastery would taste even better. I was actually going to say that a king's food must taste impossibly good. I was on my way to that conclusion as well, although I think we may have been approaching it from different angles. But I like the way you think. We should plan a picnic sometime, you and me. We should propose it to the superior. Oh, that's a lovely idea. Moira clasped my hands in hers and beamed. Oh, what fun it always is to have someone new here. She let me go and lifted up the tray again. I must be getting the rest of this to Eustace. Where are you off to next, Pissy Bee? I'm not sure, actually. I felt like I should sort of make the rounds, so to speak. Get to know what everyone does around here. Grand. Darcy and Charity are busy in the kitchens right now, I think, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind you poking your head in. And, be sure to poke the rest of them in so they're not concerned. I'm sure someone in the cellar's around now if you want to learn about the wine. Oh, so many options. Go forth and explore, I say. Explore I shall. I smiled and bowed my head, and then excused myself to head downstairs. I selfishly opted against bothering the cooks while they were busy with something I'd be eating later, and instead headed towards the stairs. I made my way down to the cloister and through the downstairs hall. I decided that I might poke my head into the undercroft. I wanted to see how Batman was doing. Well, look who it is. Hello, Hedwig. Hello. Done with chronicling already? Yes, actually. Well, there wasn't much to write about yesterday, really. Wasn't there? Did you make sure to immortalize your grand prank? No. Oh, really now? I'm surprised. I would have thought that was the whole point. Yes, how else will anyone know it happened? Well, I mostly wrote about the important things, the services, the meals, and so on. Those are the important things, huh? Give yourself a little credit, Hedwig. I'll add it in tomorrow, perhaps. You should. Otherwise, we'll all forget about it eventually. Or pretend we forgot about it. That's right. In war, one must keep score. Or so Adela keeps telling me. War? Relax. We're definitely not planning a counterattack to your door prank. Yes, we've just been discussing, faith and whatnot. Jesus, yay or nay? How do you feel about him? The Nicene Creed and its many subtleties. Oh, how interesting. Which ones? Which subtleties? Wow, they're really subtle about it. Filioque. Ah, that's, I suppose I wouldn't count that as a subtlety. That would be my contribution. Why not? Ow! I couldn't agree more, Hedwig. I have a habit of understating things for effect, you understand? Yeah, that's the ticket. Her portrait is amazing right now. Naturally. The pair smiled at me, and I could sense they were politely ushering me onward so they could continue whatever conversation they had actually been having. I decided to press a little further, however. Are you now, or have you ever been an evangelical? What have you two been up to today? I decided I'd see what the other work around here is like, since I finished so early. There isn't much almoning to do up on this hill, so I've been helping out in the cellars. Oh, what have you been doing? Catherine and Margaret exchanged a glance. This, more or less. Not to sound like our dear friend Eustace, but that's a euphemism. A Eustacism, if you will. Well, not entirely. If something needs lifting, they'll shout. They'll go, check out how much I can bench. They being Marta and Flora? Typically, yes. But more often than not around here, helping in the cellars really just means, well, nothing. Standing around, gossiping, wandering around the cloister for a bit. And the Superior doesn't mind this? Now, steady on. We wouldn't be telling you this if we thought you'd blabber on to her about it. Oh, I won't. I was just worried you might get in trouble. It's never really been much of an issue. Soup can't be everywhere. Well, I don't know. It's in every grocery store. And let's keep it that way, Of course. Lovely. I knew you could be trusted. I've always said I had a good feeling about her, haven't I, Catherine? That's right, she has. I couldn't help but be filled with a gush of pride at this remark, but did my utmost to tamp it down. Well then, I'll just leave you to your important work, shall I? You know, the funny thing is, I know you're playing me, but you're right. Until next time. See you at luncheon, Hedwig. I parted with a gracious smile and walked towards the corridor of barrels I had found Adela and Flora in the day before. Marta was standing next to an open cask. She was holding a wooden ladle, looking thoughtful. Ah, Hedwig. Finished upstairs already? Yes, I am. I felt it'd be nice to get to know everyone's jobs a little better. Smart girl. Flora could learn a thing or two from you. I heard that. Flora's voice echoed deep from within the rows of barrels. Good. I have her check inventory sometimes, especially if she's been acting up. I see. The barrel open in front of Marta smelled absolutely putrid. Nonetheless, she dripped her ladle into the dark liquid and raised it to her lips, sipping gently and furrowing her brow thoughtfully. Is it supposed to smell like that? Truth be told, I haven't a clue. This is a slightly different kind of wine than I'm used to. I must confess, I did not know there were different kinds. It's sherry. Baby. Adela pestered me to try making it the moment she arrived at the Abbey. Oh, goodness, she must be very particular. She has expensive tastes, yes. We had to get a fancy new distiller set up in the workshop just to try making it. The Abbey could afford that? I was just talking to Eustace about her acquisition budget. I try not to think about money most of the time, to tell you the truth, but I've heard the Superior has access to more than you'd expect. I suppose I wouldn't really know what to expect. Isn't that wrong, though? If it is true, it would certainly mean this Abbey is stuck in a uniquely unfortunate position of having a lot of charity to give and no one to give it to. I'd urge you to quell any Cistercian tendencies. I'm not sure the church could withstand another order fracturing. Mata took another whiff of the unfinished wine in her spoon. She wrinkled her nose and emptied the spoon back into the barrel. I suppose this is good enough for the kiss wine, maybe. Anyhow, there is little use in speculating on speculations. We have a distiller, and all I need to worry about is making sure my sherry isn't a disaster. Would you be a dear and find Adela? I need her to tell me if I'm on the right track with this. Of course, where would she be this time of day? She does this and that, so I haven't a clue, to tell you the truth. I'm just too old to be given the runaround. I understand. I'll find her. I bowed my head and left the way I'd come. It turned out I didn't have to go very far. After jogging back up the stairs to the cloister, I decided to check the gardens, where I found Adela and Darcy tending to a row of vegetables. Hedwig, hello! Hiya. Hello, Marta actually asked me to find you, Adela. Is she meddling with the sherry again? She's going to ruin it, I swear. Ooh, be careful. Ego autumn dico vobis non jure amino nece per calio. Sherry is very important and delicate. For sherry, I will swear. Fair enough. Goodbye, my friends. I will speak to you again once I've walloped some sense into Sister Marta. With words, Hedwig, do not worry. The old word wallop. That is correct. I would never hit anyone. Although, over sherry... No, that's not funny. It's a little funny. Because really, I would not. And that's what makes it funny to say you would. I get it. I suppose we have very different senses of humor. Adela gave a little approving nod to Darcy and then turned to leave. Would you mind helping me finish what she was helping me with? Of course. What can I do? Pick the rest of these carrots with me and put them in the box. Oh my god, Darcy's life is Harvest Moon. She is a neurodivergent nun, bless her! She pointed at a wooden crate half filled with plump, reddish vegetables. Alright then, do I just... You gotta push them down and yank them out like this. Seriously, haven't you ever played Mario Brothers 2? Darcy flopped to her knees and gripped a clump of green stems that were poking up from out of the soil. She pointed at a little purple mound poking up from the dirt. Watch this. She pressed the carrot into the earth, then pulled it out of the ground with remarkable ease, then tossed it several yards into the crate. Darcy, neurodivergent nun and yeeter of carrots. It's easy. You try. I knelt down gingerly in the soil, a little apprehensive about getting my frock dirty. I rummaged around in the nearest patch of greens and traced my finger down a stem until I uncovered the top of a carrot and pressed. Nothing happened. Press harder! That's what she said. I gave it my all. The resistance finally broke after a few difficult seconds, and I nearly fell face first into the carrot patch. Oh! Well, there you go. Now pull it out. I regained my composure and removed the carrot from the earth quite easily. Why does that work? You're breaking off some of the little roots holding it in place. But that's miraculous. I never would have guessed. It just works. Plants are wonderful. Thank God for plants. God created the earth. Thank you for the earth. She continued harvesting carrots and I followed suit. There's certainly a lot here. We need as much food as we can before winter starts, and carrots are good at everything. I hadn't thought about that, but what else do you grow for winter? Peas, sprouts, cress, parsnips. Goodness! Leeks, celeriac, beans, beets. And you take care of all of it? With help, but yes, I do. Remarkable! That's very admirable. I like to help. And when people help me, help. And when people help me, help. Well, that's a very good feeling indeed. I picked up the pace a little, slightly more confident about my carrot-pulling abilities all of a sudden. And you tend to the animals as well? Yes. You've certainly got a lot of responsibilities. There actually are not that many animals. I think even just a few ducks might be too much for me to handle. The ducks are friendly, so that helps. Other than that, we just have sheep, and that's a shared responsibility. Really? With who? A man from the village spends some time up here in a little house and helps with the sheep. I didn't know there were others living up on this hill with us. On this hill, just him, and he is a bit of a walk from us. It was strange having a more in-depth conversation with Darcy. Her odd manner of speaking, I must confess, had belied the thoughtfulness with which she listened and responded. Her words came thick and slow like treacle, and sometimes it felt like any emotions they carried were delayed. Nonetheless, it was clear that she was lucid and intelligent. She kept going on and on and on about bionicles. Just as much, if not more so, than anyone else I had spent time with so far at the convent. So, I picked my next questions carefully. It was a rare privilege to see you in the process of having a vision yesterday.
Oh, right, yes. Was it now?
Yes, that's a beautiful and powerful thing.
I wish I could remember them.
Eustace writes them down for you, doesn't she?
Well, yes, but that's not the same. I do appreciate her doing that, but I wish I could keep track of them myself.
You don't remember them at all afterwards?
Not at all.
You know, the one you had yesterday was rather prophetic.
Oh, really?
Yes. I mean, fire, goat. It was perfectly accurate.
I predicted your prank.
Darcy. Would you believe me if I told you that wasn't a practical joke I came up with? That I really saw a monster of some sort? And a goat?
Probably not, but go on.
I promise you I did.
Well, you know me, I do think this place is haunted. But I'm not sure I've seen anything like that. It's a little haunted here, but not ghost sacrifice haunted.
Important distinction.
So that would be strange. I suppose a practical joke is more plausible. But if it wasn't your prank, who could it have been then?
Well, that's just the thing. I don't know. An idea came to me in a flash. Do you think I could read Eustace's full journal about yesterday's vision? Perhaps there had been some other clue written down in there that I had missed. Something that could help me determine what had really happened. Or at the very least, comfort me with the knowledge that I was not truly being pursued by ghosts or devils.
Dunno. You'd have to ask her.
Really? It's your vision.
It's Eustace's writing.
Fair enough. There was a long pause. That was the end of that matter, evidently. So, does the Abbey keep any goats?
No goats, just sheep and ducks.
I was just curious, honestly. I was under the impression that goats were a common fixture at abbeys. The same books that had led me to assume that the abbey I lived in would follow some sort of structural plan had also painted a rather specific picture of their inhabitants. Not having any goats to tend to was at least not as egregious as condensing the hours. But it did complicate my understanding of what I had seen the night prior. Then again, I suppose Darcy would have noticed if a goat had gone missing.
Would you like to meet one?
Meet a goat?
Yes, because I could probably arrange that if you want to see a goat. They're very sweet and funny. Last time I saw a goat, chewed on my sleeve and took a big hole out of it, and I had to get Moira to sew it back up. And then I had one sleeve with slightly less fabric than the other sleeve, so it looked funny.
That does sound very fun. But no, I was actually curious because if I had seen a goat, where would it have come from? An impish grin crept over Darcy's face as she loaded carrots into the crate.
I think I know where this is going. You've been having me on a bit, haven't you? We're working on a new practical joke.
No!
See, I knew you had to be joking when you said you saw a goat because there are no goats here, so you couldn't have seen one. But if I knew you really wanted to get your hands on one for a new prank...
Sister Hedwig. I whipped around to see Angela looming over the vegetable patch, looking as icy as ever. Yes, Sister Angela? You were meant to be working in the library today. Instead, I've been looking all over for you. Yes, well, I finished my work earlier. I'm sure you must have done a superlative job. The Superior wishes to speak to you before luncheon. I could taste the poison in those words, and I almost enjoyed it. Almost. I was in love and terrified at the same time. I'm sure she wants to know how my first day of real work went. I was just helping Darcy with the carrots, and then I'll be on my way. I'm to take you to her now. I stood up, brushing my hands off on my robe. I think I know my way to her office if you'd like to exchange places. No, I don't think so. I was given a job to do. Yes, well, I was too. Oh? You're taking orders from Darcy now. It wasn't really an order.
It's all right, Hedwig. I can take it from here.
Wonderful. Let's be going then. I tossed Darcy an apologetic glance that I hope she caught as I followed Angela away from the garden. We walked in silence to the Superior's office. Angela's presence usually made me feel meek, but something about helping Darcy had given me a small boost of confidence. I spent the walk imagining several witty and biting things I could say to Angela as if she happened to speak. She didn't, of course, not until we arrived at the Superior's door. Well, have a productive meeting. She made a show of turning on her heel and marching away briskly.
I thought of a few more clever things I could have said before clearing my mind as best I could and knocked on the door. After yesterday's arguments with the superior, I had resolved to be as polite and demure as possible. I would speak to the superior with the respect her station demanded, and I would save any pithiness for an imagined Sister Angela. Nice to know that humans have always been replaying imaginary arguments in their heads since the beginning of history. The door swung open and the superior ushered me inside. We exchanged basic pleasantries before diving right into the heart of the matter.
How was your first day working in the library?
It was more tumultuous than I expected, Your Reverence.
Oh, really now? I wouldn't have expected Eustace to be a particularly difficult person for you to work with.
I suppose I have a lot to live up to. Everyone's expectations make me nervous.
I sympathize. Try not to let it bother you, however. The most important expectations here are mine.
Yes, Your Reverence.
Try not to be nervous. You are performing admirably for me so far.
Of course, Your Reverence.
There's no need to overcorrect for your insolent outburst yesterday. Speak to me as if you would anyone else.
Yes, Yes. I bowed my head a little. Truth be told, I was getting increasingly frustrated with how arbitrary every little application of tradition was around here. I was being admonished for speaking properly now after I had been so rude, honestly.
Anyway, we are going to take a little walk.
Right now?
Yes, it is time you met the accused.
Won't it be fairly obvious that we're gone?
Everyone else will be busy finishing their morning work or preparing luncheon. Outside of creeping away from the hospitalum in the dead of night, there's no time like the present for us to leave unannounced.
I see. The idea did not thrill me. Then again, speaking with James had been my idea in the first place, so I had little room to object.
Does anyone else know?
Of course not. She opened the door and held it for me. In the best circumstances at this point in time, the Abbey felt strange and alien to me still. Knowing that we were attempting to slip out without anyone noticing, however, made the place feel actively hostile. I jumped at every mid-morning shadow and held my breath passing every blind corner, even though the superior walked ahead of me. The building seemed to be more disrepair the further from the cloister we got. The wall protecting the side of the abbey was downright shabby. Bricks lay in the grass and moss was bursting out of the mortar.
Is the hospitalum not part of the abbey? It was built much further away than is useful, I must say. Are you all right? You're a bit pale.
It had just struck me that I was about to leave the confines of the abbey, hardly a day after being ripped from my cell. Compared to my organized existence in that small room, the corridors and cloister already felt like a whole new world.
A whole new world.
Anyway. Stepping beyond those walls felt like a whole new level of transgression. I'm all right. This is how I finally felt going outside after I got vaccinated for COVID.
If nothing else, it was quite beautiful out here.
From here, I could see that a thick fog encircled the tor the abbey was built upon, almost as if it was nestled in the eye of a great storm. Down the steep hill, I could just barely make out the nearest village. The little buildings were situated on the edge of a lake so large that it disappeared into the mist.
We're so far from the village. It's rather strange. Truthfully, what isn't strange around here?
True. But even the architecture is not what I would have expected. I had noticed, actually, that the abbey's buildings don't quite line up with St. Gal's plan. Or the Romanesque plan.
Our abbey was built in somewhat curious circumstances, I am told. I would believe it. It was evidently not laid out by a master architect.
Do you have any idea why?
Because it would have cost a great deal more money to build it properly, I suspect.
Money is no object when it comes to houses of worship, surely.
That is sadly not how it works.
Often it falls to a generous benefactor to fund a new community. The great halls of Kirkstall, for example, were paid for by a lord. Bungay Priory was paid for by a countess. Linbarrow Tor, well, I'd like to know, to tell you the truth.
You don't know who actually funded this place?
No. I'm not the first abbess, and hopefully not the last. The history of our community has not been particularly well recorded. I hope you can improve that once we are free of this foul mystery. I turned to look at the monastery from a distance. Even from far away, I could see that it was fairly dilapidated, oddly situated, and altogether somewhat crooked.
How old is it?
I'm afraid I don't know that either. Monasteries serve many purposes. Way houses, centers of learning and study, Beacons of spiritual guidance for local communities. Lynbarrow is none of these. I would quite like to see it become one day. Another reason why our mission is of the utmost importance. This place is falling apart, Sister Hedwig. I understand. The Superior nodded, and we continued walking to the hospitalum.
The hospitalum was an odd little building. Reminded me of an IHOP. It looked like a piece of the chapel that had been broken off and placed in the middle of a field, with nothing but a beaten path indicating that it was meant to be part of any larger community. I was somewhat relieved that it was not readily visible until we had crested a small hillock during our walk. We did not go in through the front door. Instead, the Superior bade me follow her around to the back of the building to a smaller door. I could see a hole where the wall of the building met the ground as we walked past. This really was a haphazardly constructed place. Watch the stairs, they are quite steep. She produced the same keyring that had taunted me so when I heard it in my cell. It was impossible not to gasp as the door swung open and I saw what lay inside. A stone staircase led down into what looked like a cellar, only there were iron bars splitting the room in half. I jumped as I saw a figure scurried out of the dark corner of this horrible room. He looked panicked, slightly younger than I, to be sure. His clothes were rumpled and his hair was messy. There was a putrid stench lingering in the room that I did not want to guess the source of. He might have had a boyish charm under better circumstances, but imprisonment had clearly taken its toll. I was struck with a rush of pity when our eyes met. He rushed forward, throwing himself against the bars and gripping them with bloodied fingers. He pressed his face between them to bring us as close together as he possibly could.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God, a male voice that I can finally do.
Step back, boy, if only a little.
I couldn't bend these bars. Believe me, I've tried.
Nevertheless.
His eyes darted between the Superior's and my own a few times before he relented. He took a step back and breathed deeply. He really was a pathetic sight to behold.
This is Sister Hedwig. She would like to ask you some questions.
Questions? What bloody questions could you possibly ask?
Did you kill Sister Catherine?
No, I didn't kill anyone.
He paused for a moment, looking me up and down, then turned to the Superior.
That's it? You've held me here for how long? Had me wait in this shithole while you promised to get me help? And you bring me another nun to ask me the same goddamn question I've answered over and over? Have you no shame?
I am sorry.
If you were, I wouldn't be locked up in here.
Hedwig, I will wait outside. Conduct your questioning with some haste, so we can be back in time for luncheon.
What do you want?
You're sure you did not kill her? You promise?
What good is my word? You've already decided.
You have no evidence, but neither do I. Well, it would matter to me. The mouth that lies kills the soul, as it is written.
Aye, that they do.
Are you a God-fearing man?
As much as anyone around here is.
Then you would promise me you did not kill Catherine.
It doesn't matter what promise I could offer. Promise me!
The stable boy recoiled in shock. I surprised myself. I'd stamped my foot down so hard it had kicked up dust from the filthy cellar floor, and it lingered in the air for a while as the young man and I stared at each other.
I promise to you, I swear I've never killed nobody. Least of all some poor woman.
I believe you.
Fantastic, and where does that leave us?
I have more questions.
Of course you do.
Why were you here that night?
I made the mail and supply deliveries sometimes. From the village.
At night?
Well, not usually, no, but I'd forgotten something. A letter. I saw it laying in the dirt when I got to the bottom of the hill and came back first thing next morning to deliver it.
What was in the letter?
How should I know? I'm no murderer, and I'm not a thief, neither.
Of course. That was a silly question.
From where I'm standing, all of your questions are worth just the same.
I want to get you out of here. I want to help you.
You lot keep saying that, but if you wanted to help, you could just open that door and set me free. Let me go home.
I don't have the key.
Then you could just call your bloody superior down and have her do it.
I can't.
She wouldn't. Okay, I'm pretty sure this guy is supposed to have a Cockney accent. I'm not... Cockney is super easy to mess up. I'm not doing that. How can you help me? This isn't fair. This isn't right. Isn't this a convent? Why do you witches even have a dungeon? He raised an honest point. For extreme situations like this, I suppose. Will I ever see a judge, or do you lot still do the ordeals around here? I don't know. Fat lot of good your help is to me, then. I want to prove your innocence. Who to? To everyone. Your superior says she believes me as well. If you believe me, that's well and good, but clearly something else is keeping me here. Who am I meant to answer to instead of a jury? I'll tell you what I think. I don't think you believe me at all. Or you or her. I think you're keeping me calm before you put me down like a lame horse. Superior! Mother Superior! The door swung open after a moment. Are you finished? No, I have a question for you, actually. Very well. Why can't we just let him go? I would have thought that was obvious. Justice must be done one way or another, lest we risk open revolt from the other sisters. They want blood, one way or the other. So what happens next if you don't prove my innocence? The bishop will decide. The bishop? Yes, he has been informed of the general situation. When he makes his usual visit at the end of the month to deliver the sacraments, he will deal with it, along with any other business. So no matter what, somebody is going to be handed over to him? Yes, and I want it to be the right person. I will wait outside once more for you two to finish up. Do hurry. This is hopeless. You're no constable. Please, help me do my best. Tell me the whole story of the morning you were caught. Don't overlook any details. Very well. I arrived late with that missing letter, and I noticed that the sister I normally hand them off to wasn't where I would normally find her. Where's that? The library. She did a lot of writing, as far as I know. Did you check anywhere else? Well, I didn't want to overstay my welcome, especially at night. I wouldn't dare poke my head into the dorms, but she wasn't in the neither. That's what I should have called this playthrough, Misery What's It. Who did you end up giving the letter to? I don't know everyone's names. I don't even know your name, even. It's Hedwig. Sister Hedwig. James Foreman. I wish I could say it was a pleasure. James offered me a grim, humorless smile. I was looking for someone else to give it to for a bit. I don't know the place very well. And you couldn't have just, I don't know, left it on a table somewhere and gone home? Well, that's just it, see. I couldn't. A job halfway done is worse than not done at all, my old man always said. Well, that's very astute. Allow me a little dignity, thank you kindly, ma'am. I was looking around for someone to ask for help when someone grabbed me and said they'd caught me. I know you don't know anyone else's names, but who? Can you describe her? Well, she was stern, I suppose. Beaky, if you'll excuse me saying. Angela. Yes, I think I remember one of the others calling her that. It's quite a blur after that, if I'm being honest. I was scared out of my wits as soon as she nabbed me. What about the blood on your tunic? Blood? What blood? Your tunic was bloodied. That was one of the first things I was told. I left my tunic in the cart. I was only here to deliver a letter. Explain. I hadn't worn my tunic since the day prior. I swear to you, I wasn't wearing no tunic when Angela grabbed me by the ear. We stared at each other in silence for a moment. I wanted to believe him, but that required believing that there was a much deeper conspiracy at work than I could have imagined. We were both so still that we could hear the wood above us creaking and bending. It was almost as if the building itself was breathing. Is the building like this?
Jesus, I am your father.
Oh no, wait, that's the other thing. Finally, the silence was broken by the door atop the stairs opening. Are you satisfied? We should go back soon. We cannot miss luncheon.
Have you seen it? Have you seen my tunic?
What is he talking about? His tunic, the one covered in blood. He says he wasn't wearing it the morning he was found. Impossible. I saw the thing myself. It's ghastly.
I swear I wasn't wearing it. It's true, damn you. Someone is lying.
I have seen it. It is indeed bloodied, and I can have Eustace pull it out of storage to show you. However...
I'm being betrayed! Set up! Anyone could have gone to my cart and taken it!
You were only there for a short while, no? Did you pass anyone on your way from the cart to the library?
No, I didn't.
Then it's just your word against a bloody tunic. I must say it's not very convincing.
You said you believed me.
And I do. But I am not the one who needs convincing, unfortunately.
You are! I hear those keys jingling. Just let me go. You'll never hear from me again. I'll run away. I'll find another job somewhere. In this economy?
You will do no such thing.
Curse both of you then. Some help you are.
Is there anyone you know here who you think might have had it out for you? I just can't imagine anyone doing such a horrible thing.
No.
No?
No.
Well, that will have to do for now. I hope you learned something useful, Hedwig, for all our sakes.
Wait! There is one more thing that may help my cause. Someone can vouch for my not wearing that tunic that morning.
Who?
Sister Catherine, the other one.
I thought you didn't pass anyone on the way in.
She was in the library when I went up there to find Catherine. The other Catherine, God rest her.
Well, it certainly is not much, but it might be a start. Thank you, Mr. Foreman.
Has word been sent back down to the village about why I'm gone?
Yes.
It's good, I suppose. Have you heard any word back?
I have not.
Shame that.
He looked utterly defeated, so much so that I could not bear looking at him any longer. A small part of me wanted to wrench the keys from Mother Superior's hand and free the wretch myself.
Ma'am, you had me promise you I was telling the truth, and I did. Will you promise to find whoever did this to me?
I can't promise that. I can't promise what I don't know is possible.
Do you promise you'll try? Please?
Yes, I promise I will do my utmost. We bowed to the poor young man and headed back to the precarious staircase to the outside world. I dared not turn around to see his expression as we left. I could not bear it. The Superior and I didn't speak on the walk back to the Abbey. I was torn between feeling curious about the wide world I had stepped into and worrying that someone in the stone buildings ahead of us was watching. I half expected an arrow to come sailing over the wall and strike me dead in the chest.
Message for you, Superior!
However, almost as soon as this gory image crossed my mind, the fog between us and the monastery thickened. I found this comforting, as if I was, perhaps, being watched over by God on my righteous quest. How very silly of me. The thought carried me for a little while, though.